Microsoft has not done a lot of first-party games, compared to Sony. And I mean, the number of games that Sony puts out, Microsoft first-party does, fewer games. They would argue probably, they end up in aggregate selling, better on average than a Sony game.
They can spend more on marketing.
Right, exactly, because they have fewer games. But I mean, is that what we're all looking for? Is that big first-party blockbuster? I mean, there's been some studios. There's one in Vancouver, I think, that you guys reported on, Black Tusk, that apparently is working on some kind of game for Microsoft. So
I think a new IP would be awesome too.
Yeah.
Like or
come on,
several.
Shoot higher.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what I mean. Something that they come out like the Mass Effect, like the Two Human announcements, where it's like, here's this new thing that's going to live here that isn't just a one-off, that we really are investing in. It's going to last for a long time.
So, outside of games, I just want to say that I think there are other things that they can do with the system that will be maybe convince people to buy it over a PlayStation 4, because it doesn't seem like Sony's approach this time is going to try to chase Microsoft with Amazon Instant Video and Netflix and Hulu and all those things.
Yeah.
They're going to focus a little bit more on the games. At least that's their
They're chasing Xbox
positioning.
Live is what they're chasing.
Yeah,
they're chasing the online community.
Yeah, but if Microsoft can make it a lot easier for people to get HBO Go without an HBO subscription or a cable subscription or something like that. Have these kind of offerings that don't require discrete apps or a
Well, that's why I
stable
think
subscription.
it's a good point, because I think the core gamers, that's what we want, and we're the people that are going to be lined up on launch night to buy that thing and get excited about it. But in many ways, are we going to sort of naturally be there anyways? And then is there this wider audience of the people that want social networking and all these other things that could potentially come to the system? I don't know.
I think there's a disconnect. There's a false assumption that people are looking for. It's like all this stuff that comes with the game box that's not games, that's the cherry on top. That's great.
Yeah.
But the idea that there's another consumer out there that's looking to drop $400 or $299 or whatever these boxes end up costing, just to have, it's like I get that on every, I have that on I have that on my Apple TV, I have that on my computer, I have that everywhere. I don't feel like I need to go give you $400
But
to.
can you wave with Connect on HBO Go to select?
Yeah, the surprising
But
announcement.
now the one thing though that I saw the other day about the continuation of Heroes, and I wasn't a huge Heroes fan, but the concept of
Right,
this,
the rumor they were
of the
bringing it back,
studio they
right?
have here in LA, and it's like, hey, we're doing original programming that's exclusive. Well, suddenly, if that Xbox becomes the new HBO, and it's sort of like geek HBO, and it's like our shows are awesome, and they're aimed at people who are really into sort of geeky shit, I'm like. Yeah, that suddenly becomes exciting to me, and it's not a game issue. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
that's a great point.
You have an Apple TV and you have a PS3 or a PC, and they can do all those things. But what if they convince you to basically you only turn on your Xbox? Like that's the only thing you really need. Like your other stuff becomes antiquated and useless.
Yeah,
because
but then what they're selling me is
Yeah.
just this thing that's convenient, and that's fine if that's their goal is, hey, our games are okay, but I know they're going to say that, but our games are okay, but ultimately it's about only having one thing to turn on. Then it better be worth chucking my Apple TV over. But sure, I mean that's a way.
I think that's what they have to do. They have to convince you to say that that this is the thing that I'm going to invest all my digital purchases in.
Okay, so here's it. If I can only watch the bonus round on Xbox, then I'm buying an Xbox.
Right.
And if I can rent a movie and digitally, and I can stream it and I can have it for 3 days versus 24 hours, I will give them triple the price of the Xbox, because how much money have I spent? That's
Do you not have Netflix?
Jaffe edition.
no, but I have Apple TV and I have Netflix, and if I want to watch a new movie, it's like, okay, 24 hours starts now. Hey, I have kids, I have a job. I've watched a little, I'm not trying to steal your money, movie studios. I can't watch it all in 24 hours.
Yeah.
There's something that would make me buy an Xbox if they make that deal with the studios.
So you're saying it's all about games, but then if they let you, watch your movies for 3 days.
Well, I'm saying if they've
24
taken
days,
those
so-
services that you were talking, Amazon and all that, but they've done something different that I can't do anywhere else that has
Right, so they have to
value.
sort of, you don't like to use the term, but like disrupt those other markets in a meaningful way.
Just having it on
entertainment.
your box, everybody
Right.
has it on their
Exactly.
box.
No, and that's, I think it'll be interesting to see what is, the entertainment story. Right, is it just that we had a bunch of apps where it's like, are we going to change how you consume television or entertainment? Do we have deals for new shows?
Right,
And,
that would be cool.
That type of stuff, and then layer games on top of it. And the other thing that we haven't talked about is Connect, which, seems like based on all the rumors, there's going to be, a big Connect piece to this story. And I think, the last Connect didn't really work for core games. I think, attracted potentially a wider audience, but, how important is the idea of gestures and things like that to this sort of this new Xbox experience? And how does that tie into games? Or how does it tie into entertainment? I mean, what does that really mean? I mean, is Connect really going to work now for core games?
I think Connect, at least for core gamers, is about voice commands.
Right.
And then that's what it's become.
The current Connect, but I wonder, like...
No, and I think even going forward, we like controlling things with our voice, and I think that that's where, across a lot of different technologies, that's where we're headed. And I think if they can work that into the core concept of the console, I think that's an exciting thing. Gestures, now, if you're talking like pairing gestures with an Oculus Rift type situation, now I'm in, but I don't think that's what we're going to see.
Well, what if those gestures are just like small things you can do as opposed to having to flap your arms in front of your Xbox?
Fingers or something.
But what, really? I mean, what?
I mean, it might just be faster to like flick through a bunch of things on your Netflix queue as opposed to
Then pressing a button? Pressing a button is so much slower.
Well, if you get to that iPad-like fidelity of it,
Yeah.
maybe. But I just wonder if you can, take that leap to literally you can just sort of like be flipping through quickly and stuff like that. And like
I would
true
hope. I mean,
Minority
I
Report.
think at a minimum they have to be able to do that with the new Kinect.
I think it's an ergonomic
interesting.
issue, though. You heard Jobs back in the day talk about the reason they hadn't done a touch PC is just, or an Apple, because this just isn't comfortable.
Yeah.
It's not that people are lazy, although some people are, but it's just that physically after a few minutes, this is like,
Well, that's why I think it's interesting. Sony has that touchpad on the controller, right? Where you may be able to do that.
if you just kind of do
right?
this, sure.
And they have that little light bar that recognizes controllers through their PlayStation camera.
Presumably, yeah. Exactly. I mean, there's all this stuff that Sony hasn't really talked about, and that's what will be interesting, with Microsoft too, to see how much are they going to talk about, right? Because when Sony announced, they didn't sort of tell the full story, right? I mean, they showed there was a camera, there was this light bar. How does that work? Who knows? So will Microsoft give us the full story, or will they just say, hey, we're only talking about this piece today?
Yeah.
And we'll talk about a different piece at E3 and a different piece later. And I'm sure in some ways there may be more questions than answers that we'll get this week.
Certainly was that way with the PS4 announcement, where we're like, oh, really? What does it look like?
And that's
Anybody want to tell
a
us?
great point. I mean, are we going to see what the new Xbox looks like?
I think
Tuesday.
yes.
Yeah.
I think yes, we will.
I think they'll even make a point of it. We're like,
Yeah.
and we'll even show you what it
Show
looks
you
like.
the box?
Yeah, yeah.
We'll see. Well, it's coming Tuesday, so we'll see what happens, but we'll be watching it live, right, guys?
Right? Excited.
Yeah, looking for the games.
I'm excited. Aren't you? I hope you are
What's
too.
the one game you want them to announce? Let's end with that. I mean,
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm a Halo fan, so I'm looking forward to that. But I mean, I'd love a slew of new IPs. And I'm a Sony fan.
what would be your megaton? The thing that they could do that would just make you say, like, wow, these guys.
David Jaffe's Indiana Jones.
Exclusive
Yeah, it's
to
like,
the
oh,
Xbox.
yeah, right. It's like, oh, Goddess of War from Jaffe. On Xbox,
Goddess of War.
No, I can't. I mean, honestly, the megaton would be we hired Shuhei Yoshida away, and he's running first party. And I like their first party group. I'm just teasing, but ultimately, it would be a slew of IP that say these guys have shown up, and they've said, hey, we're going head to head with Sony. Because as a gamer, I hate to sound like, all the press articles, which is better. Well, the gamers we all win, whatever. But ultimately, though, we do in that sense is that if it looks like Xbox is coming to the table this generation and they've got the same kind of investment in new IP that Sony does, that would be awesome.
I think
would
that
love
is the one thing you can bet will not happen on Tuesday.
It may not happen Tuesday, but
Yeah.
at E3 maybe.
Maybe at
Hope-
E3.
Yeah.
But I think on Tuesday it'll be safe. Like if they reveal new games, it'll be things you've heard of.
Right. Michael, what do you think? What could blow you away on game front? Dark Souls 2 exclusive?
Maybe. Who knows? I mean, I would like to see Microsoft be able to get back some of those interesting Japanese developed titles that they had on the original Xbox. There were some really great games on that system. Otogi and Panzer Dragoon.
New
Orta.
Shenmue.
Blinks?
They could get Shenmue 3 out on that.
Do
thing.
it.
Woo! Man, yeah,
Finish
Blinks,
the-
another Blinks, finally. Yeah.
All right, Jeff, what about for you? What do you think? What could you say? You think they're going to play it safe, but is there something they could do?
I do think they're going to play it safe. I would like to see something with the technology that is really interesting. I think that for me the most interesting thing about the PS4 announcement was that share button, which is really unexpected to me, and remains to be seen if it'll be really interesting. But something like that sets the box apart and gives it some added functionality that I think would be.
What about that patent they showed with the guy in the jungle?
Yeah, that was cool.
would be cool.
Like it envelops your room and
Holodeck? Okay, Holodeck I'm in. You
No,
got
and that's the
Holodeck,
thing is I
awesome.
think there's so many rumors out there, and it's like the same sort of ideas sort of circulate again and again and again. I'm sure there's tons of stuff that we haven't heard about, and that's what makes it exciting.
I would say the only real exclusive that I think they could actually maybe get, but I highly doubt, is if they can get something from Valve on their system.
Right.
But
That'd be
I don't
cool,
see
but
that.
it's not
I don't
gonna
see that
happen.
happening.
It doesn't sound
They have
like
their own
Gabe likes
platform.
Microsoft
Yeah.
very much. All right, guys. Well, Tuesday it is. We'll be live in Seattle for Xbox, a new generation revealed, and all our coverage begins at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll be up there, and then we'll have a special post show right after the announcement, breaking down all the news. We'll see you then, and thanks to David, Michael, and Jeff for joining us on the bonus round.
It happens just twice a decade. The start of a new generation of gaming. New games, new experiences. On May 21st, only Spike and GT are live in Seattle when Xbox unveils what's next, including Call of Duty Ghosts. Xbox, a new generation revealed. Spike's exclusive coverage begins Tuesday, May 21st at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on GameTrailers.com. And immediately following the announcement, GTTV's Jeff Keighley is live with Don Matrick for the official post-show. Go behind the scenes for an inside look at the new Xbox as Jeff goes hands-on at Microsoft.